I played 10 games of 3v3, 2v2 and 1v1 with a heart rate monitor to see which game mode stresses me out the most. As someone who really can't handle the pressure of playing digital cardball, I needed to know which playlist to avoid for the sake of my health. So I tracked my heart rate over the course of 30 games to reach a highly scientific answer. Now 30 games is a lot to get through in a single video, so I have edited together the highlights and not so highlights for your viewing pleasure. So please sit back, relax and enjoy. Starting with game number 1, my heart rate immediately jumped up to 140. Genuinely never been more stressed playing the game. Well, not until I hit 150. Don't worry, it's only this bad for a couple of games. Anyway, another goal for me, one goal for them. And the game ended with a W. Although not for my heart. I hate ones. Game 2 was a lot easier. However, my body did not agree. We did get a nice flipper. Woo! And another... oh no, hang on. So that's where the game ended. Now game 3 was a goal fest. For me anyway. A little air dribble to kick things off. Whatever this is. That works. Traded a couple of whiffs. But did score a decent reset as well. Bang! Plus it was good to see my heart rate drop a bit. Probably because the game was a Brazil. Game 4 started out wonderfully by conceding. But my heart rate did apparently drop to its lowest so far while scoring this. Perfect. Followed by a cheeky open net miss. A cheeky air dribble. And an extremely high quality outplay. Mostly? Oh wait, hang on. Bumpies. Oh. Oh. Nice. 2 more goals. And it was over. Heart rate's still a little high in game 5, which clearly caused this Athena flick. Oh no. Scored a few goals. Conceded a couple. Oops. After a double rip reset, a midfield stumble, and a useless breezy, it was GG's. In game 6, it felt like my heart had finally leveled out around the 120 mark. I scored a nice double tap. Failed a double reset, as always. And decided to miss the min boost, then dive into a challenge so I could watch top of bat score. Although I redeemed myself with a top right slotter. And then ended the game with an almost nice wave dash. I wish I was better. Now game 7 was an absolute battle against Mamadou. Not necessarily a good battle. I'll just let the clips play out. Bang! Score! Where's the power? Okay. Take it back. Whoa! Okay, okay, now we're good. Finally won the game with this shot. Well, almost. GG, Mamadou. In contrast, game 8 was mind-blowingly boring. All that happened was another flip reset fail. Rocks missing an open net. And then it was basically over. Although the lack of excitement might have been why it felt like my heart rate was practically a straight line for this game. Game 9 we had Bug. Buggy? I don't know. Either way, I felt a strong connection and passed them the ball just to get close to them. Had a little whiff. Then redemption. And then Buggy showed me how to shoot. I thought maybe this double would be enough to win. But Buggy said no, and mugged me. Twice. So I lost. Or did I? Buggy wanted to play longer and set me up to score on 0 seconds. I'll miss you, Buggy. Game 10 was probably the most relaxed I've been throughout all these games. My average BPM must have been around 110 or something. Although it must have spiked after Liam almost made an incredible double save. Nothing else too exciting happened other than an open net miss. Until finally, on the last game, I hit my double reset. Oh, every time. Not the best way to end it, but let's move on. So, game number 1 of 2s. Unlike in 1s, what you won't see is my heart rate jumping to 140. I did hit 121 after the first goal, but it was worth it to score this double. Even though Billy did centre it for the opponents to score, and it seemed like Psyonix was out to get me, we got the win. Game number 2 started with a delightful pass middle. Oh yeah, no it didn't. However, using my elevated heart rate, I remembered how to hit the ball, and we scored this. Oh, let's go! To balance this, we then conceded 4. Oh, what? Oh, gods. But we didn't let this break us and fought our way back to 4-4. Okay, nice. Whoa. Oh, again. Ah, wait. Yeah. You know what? Make it 5-4 and give us the dub. Nice. Game 3. All I could think about was Buggy. However, Nak and I did make an almost good team. Wait, that's open. Ah! No! It also seemed like my heart was leveling out around the 110 mark, which was nice. And after a few more boring goals, it was GG. Started out with a fat whiff in game 4, followed by a failed double into a great pass. Go on. Hang on. Yeah. 2 more goals and it was over. Game 5. What a roller coaster. This was some of the worst Rocket League I have ever played. I think my body might have tried to save me by giving me a shot of adrenaline. Oh no, sorry. No, sorry. Oh my god. Kira was not happy. And fair enough. We did manage to score 1 goal though, and I managed to up my heart rate, but I did try to step it up with this play. Then, as if the gods felt sorry for me, this happened. It's not great. Wait, what? And on 0 seconds, this did. There's no way. Makes the fact that we won kind of boring now. But at least me and Kiro are friends. Although my heart was still on edge, Game 6 was a return to normality. Nandim and I were a deadly duo. And although the game wasn't too exciting, we took a comfortable 4-1 victory. GG. Game 7 started with a fairly decent outplay. Come on. And a perfect shot to top it off. The goodness did not continue though. Oh. A couple of misplays and we ended up going to overtime. But luckily I finally decided to do something useful and bagged the winner. Not bad, not bad. Game 8 started out badly. Then got worse. End me. A little bit of redemption with this pass though. Oh, what a pass. But we conceded again and encountered an unfortunate situation. But we did not give up. Score it! I can't get it! We did lose, however. Heartbreaking. A new lowest heart rate to kick off Game 9, followed by a whiff, followed by conceding, followed by a whiff, followed by conceding, followed by wait, no. There's a chance. Oh my! And the winner. Let's go. Oh, for them. That's what I get in it. Game 10. Oh no. Wasteland. Please let me game 5 again. Okay, good. Even better. Oh no. Please, please. Okay, okay. Oh no, what's this? Oh, okay. A little fake to kill the game. And we finished just below 100 BPM. And that is that for twos. Now, despite solo Q3s being quite the chaotic mess sometimes, it did not seem to negatively affect my heart rate that much in game 1. In fact, it dropped to a new all-time low of 89 as I tactically whiffed this ball with a fake. Nevertheless, it looked like smooth sailing for us as we went up 3 goals early on. Only to concede 4. No. Oh. Have our teammate forfeit, then leave. And we end up losing. Game 2 started off with a pull shot own goal. No. But I'm blaming last game for putting my heart rate back up above 100 again. Whoa. After getting away with the previous clip, I managed to score a baby ground pinch on an open net. Whew, normally I'd miss that. Despite that, my nerves were not calmed, and one more goal for them led to a second loss. Pepperoni. It could only get better in game 3. Wait a minute. No. No. Okay, fine. Go next. Right. Game 4 literally cannot be worse. I'm relaxed, we've scored. At least I got a save. Oh. Get me out of here. With expectations for Game 5 lower than my self-esteem, and the fact that we hadn't already lost before half the match had been played, we had a new BPM record of 88. And with inability on both teams about equal, no, we held out for the first win in 3s. Not my strongest showing in Game 6, I will admit. No! But luckily not quite as bad as Games 3 or 4. Come on. Nice. Oh no. And despite being down 3-2 in the last 20 seconds, I managed to bag the goal that took us to overtime. Only for Ricky to read Dogzilla's hit, clang it over my head, land perfectly behind me, and score. There's no way. I mean, yeah, I was in a bad position, but I'm still not over it. I had to redeem myself in Game 7, and after witnessing a quad commit, I knew it was my time to shine. Oh no! Shine complete. I decided to miss all the boost pads on my way back here. Nah. Watch a kickoff goal go in. Push up too far again while also hitting 87 BPM. And have my teammates understandably FF. Which sent my heart rate right back up again. GG and I'm sorry. Game 8. Woo! Could I get my second win? Well, after scoring a joint 3s record of 2 goals in a game, an opponent leaving, and my heart dropping to 84 BPM, it was so. And I couldn't contain my excitement. Let's go. Game 9 was weird. One of my teammates seemed like they didn't want to be there. Not sure why, but they decided to troll most of the game. Not much you could do other than wait for the game to end. Which you did. After 10 goals. Okay. Only positive was my heart rate was relatively low for most of it. Free me from this hell. Here we are, the final game of the video. Let's go out on a dub. Oh. Here we go. Never mind. Okay. Go on. Not quite. No, please. It was all up to me to hit the perfect flip reset. Obviously we did lose though, but that's okay, because 1, look who scored, and 2, that's not what this video is about. We came here to work out what the most stressful game mode is in Rocket League, and to do that we need to look at the stats. So after dumping the data into a spreadsheet, this is the graph it spat out. Okay, so I know it looks like there might be something seriously wrong with me, but I assure you this is just what happens when you squash the results from 30 games into a single graph. Now, as you can see, we have 1v1 in orange, 2v2 in green, and 3v3 in blue, with the start of game 1 on the left, and the end of game 10 on the right. And I'm no expert, but there does seem to be a very distinct pattern emerging. This pattern is also apparent if we just look at the numbers too. 1v1 consistently keeps my heart rate elevated higher than 2v2 and 3v3, with 3v3 being like a meditation session compared to 1v1. But why is this the case? Well, here are my thoughts. If you lose in 1v1, the only thing you can really blame is yourself. There is an innate level of extra pressure not to mess up, as you don't have a teammate to cover for you. Additionally, 1v1 also requires a high level of constant focus because, well, you can't afford to mess up, and you're active in the play much more often. Compare this to 2v2. If you make a mistake, chances are your teammate can bail you out. You feel safer. There's less pressure to perform. Better still, even if you both make a mistake and concede, you can just say, that wasn't my fault, my teammate should have saved that. Or, wow, my teammate left me in a 1v1, what was I supposed to do? And even if something was 100% your fault, you can always find a way to blame your teammate. The only thing you can do in ones is blame Psyonix when you drive up your opponent, but for some reason their car is glued to the ground and your car acts like it's driving on ice and spins out, letting them score. Or something like that. The same thing goes for 3v3, except with another teammate you can also share responsibility with. Plus, in 2s and 3s, it isn't always you involved in every play. You have chances for a quick mental break as you rotate. You could argue though that in 2v2 and 3v3 there is a pressure to perform for your team, as you don't want to let your teammates down. And while I definitely feel this pressure sometimes, it never seems to outweigh that single responsibility pressure in 1v1. Back to the graph though, you may have also noticed earlier that the trend lines all slope downwards. So that would indicate that at least at the beginning of each game mode, I would be more stressed than say 5 games in. For me, I think this comes down to not knowing how well I'm going to play in that game mode before getting through a few games. Is it a day where I have the IQ of a hamster? Or is it a day where I have the IQ of a really smart hamster? This was also the case despite warming up for an hour in free play too. If you're also thinking that hey, those trend lines look like they would join up if put end to end, and maybe you were only more stressed in ones because you played it first, well, despite the order in the video, I actually played 3v3 first, followed by 2v2 and finally 1v1. So if you were to stretch out and reorganize the graph, it would look like this. Yep, super hard to read, I know, but it does seem to further support the idea that the first games of each game mode are more stressful than ones later on. Now obviously this isn't all that conclusive, or scientific for that matter, and I imagine this is going to differ wildly between different people. I for one can't help but feel like the world is at stake when playing Carball, but that might not be the case for you. So I'm interested to know what your thoughts are in the comments. What game mode do you find the most stressful, if any, and why do you think that is? This video did take a lot of time to create, so please like this video if you did enjoy it and subscribe for more content like this in the future. But for now, thanks for watching and I'll see you in the next one.